if we trace back to your first part about the whole hockey concept of the focus on winning, but also being fair, but also going for excellence, you have to distinguish, okay, well, at what age are the kids, and what level. So if you have a team, minor peewee, or even down like near 8, 9, 10, and they're there to have fun. They're there to play. They're not there to hoist the championship at the end of the year. Sure, that's a nice result, but your goal is to be able to develop the kids. If they're in a recreational aspect, they're there to develop. And at what point does the coach have to know his boundaries and saying, winning is nice, but I want to be able to win each and every year. If I just play my top 3 players here on out for the rest of their period, I may not be able. My rest of my team may not develop. When as you get older, yeah, it's more emphasis on winning. It's more of a team. There's more of an acceptance of roles. When you're trying to tell a 9-year-old you're on the 3rd line, or even labeling lines for that matter, that's where I feel like you have to really distinguish where you are at the kids level. Because yes, the coaches and volunteer, they do a tremendous job, but they're there for the kid. Most times, as a parent, it's a parent of the kid. So that's where I'd have a hard time looking at it in terms of the focus on winning. Sure, at that level, it's a great result, but the whole concept of fairness, inclusion, and then just the growth of the sport. If you compare our hockey system here in Canada to Europe, year in year out, we have a better professional hockey team. Obviously, we compete for the gold, but in terms of skill and player growth, completely different contrast. When if you talk to any player who will go to Europe, they can talk about how free they are in practice, how free, and then they can grow themselves. And then once they feel that their individuals are grown as a player, they then combine that team aspect, which is an interesting concept in terms of what we do in Canada. Whereas when they're 9, 10, 11, we're already teaching how to play a trap. We're already teaching them proper penalty kill, the umbrella, how to do power plays, and you're constricting, limiting a bit, but in the same sense, our end result has worked in hockey.
At the elite level.
At the elite level, yes.
So we produce the gifted athletes that can perform for the country, but we're losing the kids in their teen years.
Right.
And as you said, I guess one of the interesting dilemmas we've got is that, again, if you did a survey of the coaches and parents and the coaches, volunteers, over 92% of them say this is what it should do, this is what it can do. But those are the same people who are going out teaching the 9-year-olds the trap system.
Right.
And teaching them to stay on your wing, and we've got to win. So how do we go from, okay, if this is what you want to do, this is the sport you want, but you're not happy with the sport you're getting, how do we get the people who are involved to actually make it happen?
Well, to me, it goes back down to building capacity, and capacity being facilities, to officials, to coaches, more coaches clinics, more in hockey. Our coaches in Canada are top of the line across the world. Obviously, we've grown sport here in Canada. We know hockey. When it comes to our baseball coaches for minor league sports, our soccer coaches, our ringette, curling coaches, having more clinics, teaching them more ways, I think that will help the long-term athlete development process. Building that resource tool in Canada, saying our kids are learning from certified coaches, our kids are learning from coaches who know how to build an athlete. We have that is hard to do. We have so many teams across the country that it'd be tough to have a certified coach at every single minor league level. But just be able to, in a perfect world, if we can grow that capacity base, grow our facilities to allow more sports and more practice times, more competition, well, that will also grow the sport. When it comes to hockey, every town has an arena. Therefore, every town has a chance to develop a hockey player. Not every town has a multi-use facility. Not every town has multi-use soccer fields, or even squash courts, or a place for the cricket players to play. Right now, we're running into trouble where you have different new sports that need the soccer field services, but soccer gets all the fields, all of it. So if you take something like a cricket or even ultimate frisbee, they don't have access unless they play on nights that soccer don't want it. So if we had more facilities across the country that enable and encourage sport participation, we might be able to see a growth.
Do you think that I know this is a real philosophical question, but there's a school of thought out there that feels that the more organized we have made sport, the more we have reduced the fun that kids have in it, and that this is leading to a real decline at the ages of 15 and over, and even into adulthood, that is having a real impact on the health of our nation, the overall health of our nation. That while children are at the elementary school level, there seems to be less of an emphasis on the competition and the winning, and more of an emphasis on having fun and enjoying the game.
Right.
But then as you transition into the teen years, as you say, it seems as if competition then starts to take on more of a role. And as competition takes on more of a role and organization takes on more of a role, that it's driving kids away from the organized sports into, I don't want to say unorganized, but into the less organized sports where there's not that much pressure on a person to be a professional badminton player. But kids are starting to find now that badminton is not a bad game.
Right.
It's kind of a lot of fun. And nobody expects you to make $8 million a year as a pro, so they kind of leave you alone to have fun with the sport. Tennis is another thing. But when you get into the hockey and the soccer and the basketball, these visions of being a pro seem to start getting in the way after, and it's kind of interesting because when you look at Timbits hockey and Timbits soccer and all of the young kids, everybody's having fun.
Right.
I, as a former teacher, I look at it and I said, yeah, everybody has fun when they're in kindergarten and grade 1. But as soon as they get into the grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, the fun disappears. And it's like maybe in sport we should just let the kids play. But that's not what we're all about.
No, it's all the attention, all the news stories is all about our best. So
Yeah.
It's the focus on the media just spins the sense that if you're not winning, if you're not the best, well then you're not focused enough to even make headways. Even at a local aspect, take the local newspapers, they do a good job at reporting on the local sport, but still it's just the local sport that are local athletes that have now reached a certain point. So they'll feature as like an athlete who just posted a time that's good enough to be at the provincial level. There's still no attention. Nothing's better than seeing your name in the newspaper.
Right.
So for the media can put a spin on just focusing on, look at this team that's now, they may won 2 or 3 games, but as a team that come from point A to point B, and that's good. And if you can start just being able to reward the kid, not in a sense reward, but just acknowledge kids and just how having fun and growing with the sport is still just as good as, well, if not better than not enjoying sport but winning the championship. There's got to be that fine line where you got to teach the kids that it's okay just to have fun. If you're in there for recreational purposes and just to have fun, then don't let media attention and what you see on TSN every night get in the way.
Do you think that if we emphasize just having fun, that we lose on this striving for excellence and this driving kids to achieve their best? Like, is having fun meaning don't put everything into it? Like
in terms of getting
like,
to that next point.
Yeah, and again, I hate to use hockey. Hockey is a perfect example. If you want to have fun, play in playground hockey or house league hockey. If you want to play at the traveling team level, you want to play AA, AAA, then it's not going to be as much fun as if you're playing at house league. Now, is it fair to say that to kids? Because what generally happens is, if you have the best kid that's in town and he wants to play house league, you don't let him stay in house league. You want him to play at the AA and AAA level. Right. So we're kind of saying you're going to play where your skills take you, rather than where your attitude wants to take you. that if we allow a kid who is one of the top players at that age category to stay in a house league level, then that person's not developing himself to the fullest.
But that's in terms of our perspective of what the development curve is for that individual. Right. If we may see his potential as being a prospective OHL player, so we want to push him to get there. But that's not his desire. His desire is to grow and be able to either teach some of his teammates, have fun with his group of friends. And I don't see hockey as being the end result for me. I see my end result being university and a career, and hockey is just something that gets me there with a bit of drive. Well, we have to curtail to what that individual wants. And again, kind of going back to, again, we're talking about hockey, our coaching philosophy in hockey. It's not so much of if a player wants to be able to learn his skills, we say, no, you're going to do it this way, because this way gets us to point B.
Gets us, not gets you.
Exactly.
Gets the team.
You have a good skill, you're a hustler, so when you're playing PK, you're playing penalty kill, and you're great. Dump it out, dump it out, dump it out, that's what you're good for. But coach, can't I try to like stick it? No, you're dumping it in, and it's a quick line change. And it's that philosophy of we think for the athletes of what they want to do. And if he's the best kid in town and he wants to play recreational because that's where he has fun, to him that's where he excels at, because he may excel in that environment. If that's one more person that he may just be a number, he keeps it at 14%, then that's fine. If he can, by having fun, show other people that he can do it and starts raising the figures, all right. But if we push him to go into that AA, AAA, and all of a sudden he loses that enjoyment for sport, that's where our figures start dropping, because now we have kids coming out because we put a pressure on them, and we put them in an environment that they're not excelling.
And I think that dilemma that organizational leaders, like it doesn't matter what sport you're in, when they have tiered divisions in the organization and they've got you're playing at your ability, it's difficult for them to allow someone who's far superior to the other people in that category to stay down there and have fun, because it doesn't mean that the other kids are going to have fun if they never touch the puck.
Right.
So you're getting into this, well, no, you've got to strive for it, you've got to go for it, you've got to try to find out exactly how far you can go. And even if the kid says, well, I don't like that, we're almost driving them out of the sport because we don't allow them to stay at the level they want.
Right.
I don't know, it's not a criticism, it's just that's the way it is. It's happened to my sons when they were playing, and they get to a certain age where they say, well, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. And as soon as it's not fun, when you get to be 13, 14, 15, you're not sticking around.
No.